Happy Fridays, YouTube. Happy Fridays, everyone. And please welcome my guests. Arise, Sir Coqui of Puerto Rico.
Hello.
And arise, Sir James of Stoke-on-Trent.
Hello there, this is James Uscroft at Ujames 1978.
That's Sir James Uscroft.
Sir Ujames of 1978.
Exactly. I forgot to introduce myself as Sir Alex of London. Hello. So anyway, we've all been, this week, we have been mostly watching the Doctor Who serial of The Crusades, which I've always liked. I think I like it more now than I used to. I'm now thinking of it as one of the best of Season 2. And as an historical, I see it as a return to form after the Romans being a bit of a derailing, I think, for the Doctor Who historicals for me. And mainly, I think, Julian Glover, who should be more famous, other than the fact that he returns to Doctor Who later as a villain. His villainy is all over the place. He's an Indiana Jones bad guy, he's a Star Wars bad guy, and he's a James Bond bad guy, as well as Doctor Who. So he has, I think, is the only actor to have the honour of being bad guys in all those things. I'm not calling Richard the Lionheart a bad guy necessarily, but he kind of is. But he's not a villain in black and white terms. But yes, a great actor, and I've seen him on stage as now I'm thinking, well, one of the monarchs. It was a Shakespeare play, Henry IV, and him and Jean Marsh as his sister Joanna. Just a brilliant team. So I think on the strength of their acting alone, I like this serial. Now, CoquiPirate, you've literally just seen The Crusades for the first time. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I liked, you mentioned that he's not a proper villain. I kind of liked that the narrative was complex. It wasn't, you know, very clear-cut. Something that kind of aggravated me, and Doctor Who, I guess, is doing this, but I guess, you know, it's a product of the time. It's like some of the people in this narrative have vaginas. Let's put them in vagina-related peril. Except in this case, it's while at the same time poking at how regressive they were back then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that like sort of sees this as like, oh yeah, he's going to be married off? Or she's going to be married off. Weren't they so regressive back then? I don't know. It's kind of like, oh yeah, she happens to be a woman, so obviously that's the kind of peril we have to put her in. But, I don't know.
Well, I do know that Richard I wanting his sister to marry, is it Saladin or Saffredin?
Saffredin, the brother.
Saffredin. Yeah, that I do know that's historically accurate. So they took that from. Yeah.
Well, I'll go into this in more detail when it's my turn. But in terms of vagina-related peril, this time instead of fending off rape, Barbara is told to commit suicide rather than risk being raped. So.
Yeah, bit of variety.
just throwing it in there.
I think Jean Marsh gives such a strong performance as Joanna, defying being. It's one of my favourite scenes actually, where she stands up to Richard.
Yes, but again, the motive there was such a problem. Yes. Remember that marriage in those days between nobility had nothing to do with love. It was purely a political and economic arrangement. So even if they were married, they didn't even have to live in the same country. As long as they had sex once and she had his baby, that was the extent of the legal obligation. The fact that she would rather invoke the name of the Pope and Christendom and continue the war when the whole point was that Richard wanted peace. This was an attempt at a peace treaty to save lives, to end this ultimately futile conflict. Again, whilst it was great to see her standing up, her motives could not have been more selfish or evil at that moment. Bigotry against the heathens.
She does say, "I will not marry that infidel."
Exactly. Well, not Saracen. That was the word I was looking for. Bigotry against the heathen Saracens.
Well, I want to go into actually, Coqui. I don't know if this is if this bit of history is particularly your thing, but as an historical, I think you'll agree it's an improvement on the Romans. But how do you think this ranks?
I still like Marco Polo and the Aztecs more. I don't know. Maybe, and I'm guessing that, this might not be anything about the episode itself. I guess I haven't really been getting into it since season 2 started. I don't know. Maybe the French Revolution just destroyed it for me. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it had a lot of intrigue. The whole storyline of Vicky playing as a boy, dressing up like a boy and then being discovered, and like, has everything gone upside down, or something along the lines of that was saying. And, they clearly, played around with the ideals at the time, which I think was interesting. But, I guess, I don't know, has it been since the Reign of Terror that they started getting in the habit of separating them and they have to get each other, or was that always the case?
I think there's more separation. I think they realised from a writing point of view it was a good idea to separate. Obviously there's a bit of separation in the Daleks, if you think about it. Trying to think what happens in season 1. But yeah, I think there is. But I think the Romans is the one that really set that, isn't it? It's the no, I suppose the Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror did it first, yeah.
Okay.
And serial after that was the Giants, or Giant Planet, or something like that. And the serial after that was that the Web Planet, or no, Romans. Yeah. So pretty much everything since the Reign of Terror has been, a plot of. What's the other person doing? I need to go help the other person. I don't know. Which, maybe I'm just sort of biased against those kinds of plot lines. I just haven't been feeling Doctor Who since the French Revolution. And it could be for a completely different reason. Maybe I thought it was a novelty at first, like, oh, O2, and now I'm starting to see it, and it's like, I'm not feeling the acting. I don't know.
Right.
I just haven't been getting into Doctor Who lately.
Ah, okay. Well, sorry to hear that. James, your thoughts generally on the Crusade?
Yes, it was whilst some points might be historically inaccurate, only someone with deep insight and knowledge into that time period would be able to correct it. It's better than the Romans, but let's face it. This is all completely accurate. We made it up ourselves. Would be better than the Romans. So, from a historical viewpoint, yes. If there are any problems, it's forgivable. But the fact that the serial is so balanced that yes, there are conniving, thieving, evil little Muslims, but also conniving, thieving, evil little Christians. And both leaders, Saladin and Richard, they are thrust into they are thrust into wars of holy wars of principle. They are both tired of war. What is it that Saladin said towards the end when the whole marriage with Joanna to his brother was proposed? Yes, offer one hand in friendship, but keep the other on your sword. The fact that they are in conflict with their own people more than they are with each other. The fact that even trying to make peace with these, quote, infidels is not only an insult and an outrage to Joanna, but to all of Richard's knights as well. It's just... I'm seriously wondering, could something like this be made in the 21st century when everyone's perception of Muslims is so skewed and so biased? For example, Barbara on the run from the Emir, who is the evil ruler with the scar on his eye because
Elekir.
Yes,
yeah.
Elekir, the evil ruler Emir with the scar on his eye because somebody has to be the true mustache twirling villain. Wahahaha. Yes, he is again rescued and saved by a Muslim man and his daughter. Yes, I mentioned before, told by the man who's hiding her, take this, and if there's a chance you're going to be captured, use it. What, you mean kill your daughter and then kill myself? Yes, rather than let him take you. I would have thought, that's putting forward a very bad portrayal of Muslims until I remember that, yes, she's almost raped in every other serial. It's, the BBC, it's equal opportunities rape threat. It's
I still can't believe...
Unless the victim is male.
Oh, yeah, but...
I still can't believe that this is 5:15 on a Saturday and people call it a kid show.
I know, it's just rape and suicide in one scene. And as usual, watch out, Ujames is going to bring up one of his classic complaints. He's going to start moaning again, literally treating Vicky like a child. It's just that when you said that's half of it, I thought you were going to leave me. Oh, don't worry, child, I'd never leave you. Literally sitting her on his knee and tapping her on the nose. Somebody punch him.
Yeah, but I do like you said, that they have more tension within their own ranks than they do with one another.
Yes, and the political, the complexity of the story is so great. Again, this is something I mentioned during the Web Planet. My favourite Doctor Who's are the ones in which the Doctor and companions are almost superfluous to the story. That, yes, Ian, Barbara, the Doctor and Vicky are our avatars, the means through which we see the story. But yes, this story would have played out regardless of whether the TARDIS landed there or not. Also, I do love the stories in which Barbara has a significant role. Oh God! This is actually a good point. Instead of the women always being the damsels in distress, it's Ian always playing the knight riding to the rescue. but the women are too busy rescuing themselves. And the other point as well, talking about the balance and the complexity of the storyline of the serial as a whole, when Barbara takes refuge hiding in Alakia's harem, literally the last place that he would look, because that's where he wants to put her anyway. When one of the harem girls betrays her and the rest turn on her. It was quite an uncomfortable scene at the very end. Oh yes, we're going to watch a group of women brutally murder another one, and what family entertainment? Oh yes, pass the ketchup.
Damn, I had a thought a second ago about something you said. Now I can't remember it. Damn it.
Hopefully it'll come back.
Hopefully it'll come back. If we're talking politically and about television as it would or wouldn't be made now, or because I do agree that actually that they'd do a worse job now in many ways. One thing we do have here, which, well, to an extent, because we talked about Kubla Khan being played by a white actor.
Oh yes, that's the other big issue about this, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a mixture. There are some authentically dark-skinned actors in this, but there is definitely blacking up. I'm not saying it's as bad as like the black and white minstrels, and also the availability of actors. Also, some of these actors are recognisable, so it's like, oh, we want this household face, but they're playing an Arab. But it's, apart from the fact it's not especially well done blackface or brownface, should I say, it's a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know. It's 1965 for me. It's long ago enough for it to be forgivable. But I'll go around. Coqui, did blacking up strike you about the serial?
I didn't think too much of it. I mean, that was something that was done. I guess it's not something that occurred to me to even think about. But something I do think is noteworthy, like when you say it can't be done today, maybe, because the thing is, this was before, I guess when I first heard this was before before Ujames had added Muslims. So let's say Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has this exact same plot line where, there are good humans and bad humans, good apes and bad apes, some pushing for peace, some that would create war. I guess the issue is, can we handle Muslims like Muslims are handled in the Crusades? Not too long ago, I mean, this is years ago, but I remember the movie Kingdom of Heaven. I think that was after 9/11, and while it wasn't a very good movie, I would say that it was able to handle Muslims in a somewhat balanced manner.
I was just to point, yes, there were many films made after 9/11 which did deliberately, like Kingdom of Heaven, did deliberately set out to portray the war on terror and both sides of the conflict in a balanced and objective fashion. And then there were things like 24. There were some of the lefty liberal Hollywood films. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. What did they all have in common? They all flopped. Because yes, and especially even to this day, what people want is rah vengeance porn. But so again, it's not that it couldn't be made. It's would it I'm assuming that the viewing figures for the original serial were not necessarily as high for some of the other serials. I think you mentioned The Web Planet had higher ratings than the 50th anniversary special. So that just goes to show how popular it was back then. Probably, almost certainly because of the Zabi and the Minotaur. But Yes, although it couldn't possibly have those same kinds of ratings, would a fair and balanced view of Muslims be anywhere near as popular today?
Yeah, that is the thing.
Go ahead.
I do get the feeling, though, of the 1965 audience finding the Arabs very exotic. That would be the point. In a way, it kind of inevitably exotifies them, and most children are going to think of Aladdin and things like that, aren't they?
Yes, because even in the 1960s, when the West had become dependent on oil, most people's perception of the Middle East was still Scheherazade, and the Tales of 1001 Nights, and Aladdin, and so on and so forth. But
wait, I'm confused, because the Aladdin movie where Aladdin was an Arab came later. Right now, all that existed was the story of Aladdin as a Chinese Muslim, right?
Oh, is that? I didn't know that. I apologise.
But no, no. There have always been stories of the Near East, the Middle East, whatever terms of Arabia and Baghdad and.
Okay. I don't think Aladdin specifically would have been known as an Arab at the time.
Well,
but yeah.
as far as I'm aware, in England, in Britain at least, I'm not sure how it is in Puerto Rico, but in Britain, Aladdin has always been an Arab Muslim, because as far as the world is concerned, no matter how much we tell people, there are Muslims in Asia, there are white Muslims in Eastern Europe, no, they do think that the perception of all Muslims is that they're Arab, which is...
Yeah, I think what I was trying to get at is thinking of Arabs as very exotic, and having the sort of idea of those sorts of clothes, that you rub a lamp and there's a genie. And if
flying carpets.
Flying carpets. It's actually the reason, the clockwork chess player, the Turk, is actually was actually made by an Austrian to amuse a Hungarian. And they made it Turkish and dressed it in gave it a turban and things, because people would believe it more. So people would believe that a chess-playing, robot would come from the East, because the East is where those amazing, astounding, magical things come from.
Yeah. That's completely believable. And going back to the original question about the brown face in this serial, the actor who plays Saladin, the rest of the brown face I can tolerate. It's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily blend into the background, but it's not a deal breaker either. But just the guy who plays Saladin is so recognisable, and his accent is so thick. He might as well finish every accent with duck.
Yeah. I think the worst blackface is the market trader.
Yes, and again, that is pretty obvious, but he is the fact that he is a comical character in a way does soften it a bit. But when Saladin is doing all of these great dramatic scenes, it just really detracts from the sincerity of his performance.
Right. I suppose the option there is, do I use my own accent, or could I be offensive by doing a bad impersonation?
In which case he made the right choice, but still.
Okay. Well, before I move on, I'm going to open up the floor if anyone has anything more to add about the serial.
The opening scene in the woods outside of Jaffa, could that have been any more Shakespearean? All I wanted was for the knights to shout "Tally-ho" and ride imaginary horses like in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that. I liked the opening fight and all of that. And so James must have, read my mind there.
Oh, God, it's just all of those rather English accents, isn't it? And all of those fine, manly beards. I shall have the entertainers call the performance The Defeats of Saladin, the Sparrow of the East. It could not have been a more camp circle of lovies if it had tried.
Well, at least we're back to proper Doctor Who historicals.
Yeah,
we're back to Shakespeare does history instead of...
It is a real Doctor Who's... It is Shakespeare does history as opposed to Carry On, and Frankie Howard does history.
And something that happened recently, within the past couple of weeks, is the death of the actor Zohar Segal. I'm not sure if I said that right. 1912 to 2014. Yes, this actress did actually die. Apparently, she's the oldest actor in Doctor Who history. Not surprising. Lived to 102. Died in a hospital in Delhi. She's actually probably best known. I've forgotten. Vidji? I forget the name of the character she played, but she was in Bend It Like Beckham at the age of 90. But she was in Marco Polo as Hing Cho's attendant, and she's also Shayra in The Crusades, which we just reviewed. And you should by now be seeing an on-screen tribute to Zohar Segal. And other than that, I think I shall go round and get final thoughts and goodbye. Sakoki.
No, I thought it was interesting. They had the fight early on. They had a lot of, the politics were pretty balanced there. They didn't really paint a clear bad guy, which I thought was cool. I'm not really feeling the way they handled the women, and maybe it was because it was a reconstruct that I didn't fully enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed Marco Polo, but that's because I love the Mongols. But yeah, either way, it wasn't bad. I guess that's all I have to say. May the hamster of historical appreciation be upon you all.
And Sir James.
Yes, like the Aztecs, we were talking before about how people in the 1960s were mocking people in the past for being so regressive when looking back on it now, we ourselves, the humour is compounded. But, yes, Doctor Who, so progressive in some ways, so unbelievably, irritatingly backward in others. Again, kind of summed up by Joanna's Defiance scene. Yes, you're a strong, independent woman and a bigoted Islamophobe. It definitely strikes a chord. It's controversial. It's difficult to forget whether you like it or hate it. It does have meaning and impact. Oh, and just the final scene. Ian, Knight of Jaffa, Lester accuses the Doctor of witchcraft and treachery, etc. So Ian says, "Oh no, it's mine. I should be the one to strike the blow, to execute this fiend, nip off into the TARDIS. Lester and the other knights watch as it disappears. Such sorcery. Oh, we must never speak of this, lest we be branded as madmen or liars."
Oh, yes.
To which... May God have mercy on Ian of Jaffa. Who knows what torturous hell awaits him? To which inside the TARDIS, yay! We got him. We escaped it. But yes, overall, not as good as some of the other historicals, but yes. Is it John Glover and Jean Marsh? Julian Glover and Jean Marsh, Richard and Joanna. They define the series, as I say, the best Doctor Who stories in which are the ones in which the Doctor and the companions could be absent entirely and you'd still want to watch. Web Planet, the Aztecs, and in this case, the Crusades. But yes, it's a shame that only half of it exists, but even in even the parts of it that are reconstructed are still excellent, as always, because it's the story, not the visuals. Moffat. And may the great holy donkey bless your historical serials and make sure that the curse of the Carry On movies never strikes.
Right, and in the very, very final shot, we see the four heroes frozen still in the TARDIS. What could be happening? What would the reason for that be? My closing thought is, the only pleasure left for you is death, and death is very far away.
He should have been stroking a cat, shouldn't he? As I say, someone had to be the evil villain if Saladin wasn't going to be.
Exactly.
Koba.
Sorry?
Koba, he was the Koba. Well, yeah, you need to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, without further ado then, next episode, The Space Museum.